Have you ever wondered why the cosmos would let you encounter someone you cannot possess? Why it would establish such a strong bond just to make it impossible to be together? One of the cruelest emotions is to see a link so profound, so evident, and yet know somewhere deep inside that it cannot be satisfied, that no matter how much you both might desire it, life, timing, circumstances, or even your own development call for something else. And it is in these moments that we understand the cosmos does not always bring us individuals to remain. At times, it sends them to rouse areas of us we would have never touched otherwise. Carl Jung thought the rational brain was not source of meaningful relationships. They emerge from the subconscious. They are part of the self's unfolding, a means for the inner psyche to beckon us toward change. It's seldom about creating a straightforward, easy existence together when two souls meet and spark something strong. Often, it's about starting the actual development that would have taken years or perhaps never occurred at all. You meet someone and all the stuff you believed was healed surfaces once more. Insecurities you buried, wounds you pretended not to feel, dreams you abandoned long ago begin to whisper back to you. It's planned, not accidental. Though parts of you may like to cling on to push the link into something safe and lasting, another part, a deeper, wiser one, knows that the actual goal was never about ownership. It was about coming to life. The human heart yearns for permanency, belonging, certainty. The soul, however, longs for development, truth, and enlightenment. Sometimes those two wants rip us apart internally. You can love someone deeply and yet not be meant to walk a lifetime road with them. Sometimes love is a gateway. Sometimes it's not a destination. Once you pass through, the door shuts behind you. Jung discussed synchronicity, the concept that events, meetings, and relationships occur not by accident, but rather by the alignment of fundamental realities. Meeting someone and feeling great recognition is not only chemistry. Rather, it is a collision of timelines, a gathering planned by unconscious forces steering human fate. The suffering that comes after is not an error. Rather, it is a required break in the shell you have constructed around yourself. If the universe wanted to teach me, why couldn't it do so without breaking me, without giving me something so lovely only to take it away? But genuine growth, real growth, rarely occurs in comfort. The shattering, the yearning, the unresolved questions drive you into depths you would have never investigated otherwise. You discover yourself in the loss, or at least the areas you dreaded confronting. The cosmos runs on its own rules, not on human notions of justice. It does not give comfort first priority over change. It travels in expanding patterns, waves of waking. Sometimes the cost of awakening is the loss of what you most urgently desired. The person you can't forget was a mirror, a catalyst, a messenger delivering a piece of your own soul's forgotten narrative, not a punishment. You have to see them. You have to adore them. You had to lose them since, by that means, you would recall something crucial about who you are, something no amount of comfort or simple affection could ever expose to you. You can't forget someone because they touched the still incomplete areas of you. They awakened what was dormant. They drew you toward the life you were supposed to wake into. Not because they were meant to walk beside you, but because they were meant to open the door you were too terrified to approach alone. It is painful. It bewilders. It seems unfair. True meaning starts to show, though, if you delve deeper, if you stop wondering, why did they leave, and start wondering, what did they awaken in me? Perhaps after years of shutting yourself off, they helped you to feel once more. Perhaps they revealed to you the patterns you had to break, the self-sabotage, the dread, and the self-betrayalment. Perhaps they reminded you that vulnerability is not weakness, but life itself, by opening the wall you erected around your heart. Jung stated that the meeting of two people is like the touch of two chemical compounds. Any reaction changes both. You encountered them and changed. They affected your chemistry, not only your feelings, and that shift was the actual goal. The alchemy of the soul, not the fantasy or fairy tale. Not forgetting them doesn't make you broken. It still hurts, so you're not weak. Being human, Your soul understands that certain relationships are supposed to cut themselves into you, since the person you become later would not be same. Perhaps you weren't meant to be with them. Perhaps you were supposed to encounter yourself via them. One would easily think that if a relationship is genuine, it should function, that love should be sufficient, that reciprocal emotions should logically follow to a common existence. The reality, however, is more severe and deeper than we would want to acknowledge. Not every genuine relationship is meant to last. Some are supposed to burn bright and leave ashes, not roots behind. The universe sends some individuals to collide with you, not to remain, but to start something precious and agonizing at the same time. They stir your incomplete healing, your innermost anxieties, or your dormant desires. They stroll into your life like a match to dry wood, and nothing looks the same after. You feel the burn and believe you have lost something. In fact, you have been liberated from something you were unaware was holding you down. Carl Jung frequently underlined the need of facing the unconscious, the aspects of ourselves we don't see, don't want to see, or can't yet accept. Love, particularly the sort that seems faded but unattainable, pushes us to confront these buried areas. It brutally exposes the unconscious. You see your scars, your idealizations, your fear of abandonment, your neediness, and you cannot unsee them. Often, when two spirits meet but cannot remain together, their meeting was about activation more than connection. One soul had to hasten the development of the other. One has to reflect back the hidden realities. Once the mirror works, the physical link usually fades not from malice but from need. You might believe you failed since you couldn't make it work, but perhaps succeeding would have kept you asleep. Perhaps clinging on to them would have kept you stuck in past habits, unable to grow beyond the individual you were before they came. Many times, we wish for partnerships to be comfort zones, safe harbors. Many of the most crucial ties, however, are storms, violent, lovely, life-changing ones. They rip apart all falsehood and leave you naked, vulnerable, and afraid. And in that fear, you discover your actual power. You discover the aspects of yourself buried under years of survival and compromise. Jung said that being unable to express the things that seem significant to you causes loneliness, not being alone. Meeting someone who really sees you might be the most exciting and frightening event of all. You see how much you've concealed, how much you've blunted your own edges to fit into a society that values safety above genuineness. Occasionally, the cosmos sends someone who shatters the illusory serenity you've been holding onto and compels you to face what you've been suppressing. Though one portion of you wishes to keep them, another more sensible side understands they arrive to destroy your walls rather than reside within them. Losing the individual does not cause you to lose a soul connection. Rather, you lose it by ignoring what it was supposed to educate you. Holding on to anger, regret, or resentment keeps you trapped in the wound. You change, however, if you embrace the suffering, if you allow it reveal to you where you are asleep, hiding, or terrified. The cosmos does not arbitrarily throw individuals into your life. It sends reflections, awakenings, and teachings. Every link conveys a message. Some messages are sent via love and stability. Others arrive wrapped in grief and sorrow. The sender, however, is the same, the section of the cosmos that wishes for you to become who you really are. You may encounter someone who seems like home, but is meant merely to teach you that home has to first be constructed inside yourself. You might care profoundly for someone only to discover that genuine love occasionally calls for letting go. Not because the love was untrue, but rather because clinging would violate your own development. Sometimes pain is the fissure through which the light enters. It is not always punishment. The one you can't forget, the one you can't be with, may have been the key opening a door within you, a door you didn't even realize was locked. That is not just. It's not simple. Though not what you desired, it is significant. In the Jungian sense, nevertheless, meaning is what the soul most craves. When you feel the pain of missing someone, keep in mind that you are missing the version of yourself that was there when they were close. You are grieving the dream, the possibilities, the innocence. But what you acquired, the new consciousness, the deeper self-knowledge, the awakened heart, cannot be taken away. You may never completely forget them. Some leave marks too deep to erase. But you can change what their presence aroused in you. You can carry the lessons, the love, the suffering, not as chains but as wings. They were not meant to finish you. Rather, they were meant to break you open, to nudge you toward your really self, to remind you that the closest relationships are about development, not about ownership. The universe sends who you need, not who you want. Sometimes the soul you most required is the one you could not retain. Many of us believe that if something brings us great suffering, it must have been incorrect, that if a relationship doesn't endure, it was a blunder. The soul, however, does not operate that way. Jung realized that life is about individuation, becoming the purest, deepest form of yourself, not about seeking constant comfort. The road to that self is usually not smooth. It is unrefined. It is upsetting. It's full of experiences that rip you apart, so you may reconstruct yourself on a more truthful basis. The one you never forget was not a mistake turn. They were a holy disturbance. They didn't ruin your life. They drove you toward the one you were intended to live, even if that meant destroying the illusion you once held on to. You loved at the wrong period of your development, not the wrong person. Perhaps you loved someone who wasn't ready to love themselves and hence couldn't meet you where you required to be met. That's not a failure. It's a beginning. Sometimes the universe gives you the incorrect person at the appropriate time, not to keep, but to awaken, to peel back the layers of complacency, to burn away illusions you didn't even know you were locked inside. It feels harsh because it strikes your deepest desires. The hope that love will heal all wounds, that connection will eliminate loneliness, that another person can tether you to a safe place. But no one can be your anchor. No one can fill the gaps you reject to fill yourself. Those who depart frequently show how much you still have to go back to your own core. Meeting someone who wakes you up makes you feel alive in ways you never knew possible. But when they go, or it becomes impossible, you are left in the ruins with the horrible awareness that the aliveness was never truly about them. You were the subject. It was always about you, dear. They revealed something you already possessed rather than giving you something you required. The actual labor starts now, to foster that spark without depending on others to sustain it. It's easy to romanticize these relationships, to think that someday, maybe things will line up, maybe they'll return, maybe it was all simply bad timing. Perhaps that's accurate. Hanging onto the possibility of reunion, however, can sometimes blind you to the actual work at hand. Integration. Using what was aroused to weave it into your own becoming. Jung said that what you fight continues. Resisting the loss, the sorrow, or the change keeps you stuck, waiting, wishing, bleeding out in a narrative that has already provided you all it was intended to provide. The cosmos doesn't throw individuals into your life by accident. It doesn't squander energy. Every soul encounter, even the painful, unfinished ones, has a goal. The sooner you stop wondering, why couldn't we be together, and start wondering, what was this connection here to show me, the sooner you go into your next phase. Perhaps they aroused your ability to love more deeply than at any time before. Perhaps they set up an anger you had to confront. Perhaps they reflected your concealed anxieties. Perhaps from the depths where you hid it, they cried forth your truest self. Or perhaps, just perhaps, they revealed to you how far more you're able to grow. Not every link is meant for eternity. Some are meant for awakening, resurrection, or ignition. You may grieve a loss. You can mourn the future that will never come. But remember what you acquired: deeper knowledge of yourself, a more sincere relationship with your own spirit. Realizing the cosmos sends you love, not to keep, but to change you, brings a certain sort of sadness. It is quieter than heartbreak. It's more profound than sorrow. It's the grief of an old self, of an old viewpoint on the world. And under that sorrow, there is thankfulness. Thankfulness for having experienced something genuine, for loving boldly, and for being broken open wide enough to allow in fresh light. It's simple to point fingers, simple to hold them, the cosmos, or yourself responsible. Bitterness, however, is only pain that won't change. Your spirit comes to develop, not to remain resentful. You are not the same individual you were before them. That is intentional, not accidental. Perhaps you cannot be with them. Perhaps you were never supposed to exist. But you can respect what they provided you. The fire, the bravery, the clarity. They were a lesson, not a lifetime. A storm, not a shelter. A bridge, not a destination. Carrying that knowledge forward, allowing the love, the suffering, and the enlightenment to mold you without hardening, will help you to see that nothing was squandered. You found yourself, you didn't lose them. Above all else, that was why they arrived. Some relationships were always going to be difficult. They were not meant to provide comfort without development or to fit perfectly into your life. They were meant to disarm you, to reveal the areas inside you still slumbering, still terrified, still hidden. Meeting someone you cannot be with challenges all you think you need, fate and love. It makes you wonder whether love is ownership, whether connection is about eternity, or whether maybe love is more sacred than just clinging on. Carl Jung said we are attracted to those who hold fragments of ourselves we are supposed to recover. Occasionally those items arrive wrapped with happiness, compassion, and common life experiences. At other times, they arrive shrouded in isolation, yearning, or disorder. Both are genuine. Both are holy. The one you couldn't keep was not a failure. They were an awakening. They come to remind you that your heart is more than just surviving. They came to tell you that pain indicates something mattered, not that something went wrong. There will still be times when it hurts, when memories flash suddenly, when a song, a location, or a scent brings them back to you, raw and alive. Allow it. Accept it. Pain is not a sign of brokenness. Rather, it is a sign of life. When a yearning arrives, rather than wondering, why them? Consider, what did they awaken in me that had to exist? The cosmos is not cruel. It is exact. It provides us the meetings we require, not those we believe we desire. It removes illusions so that something more real may be born. Often, the deeper the connection felt, the more strong the change it calls for. Honor that grief if you're grieving someone you cannot be with. Respect the love, even if it didn't finish as you hoped. Respect the development, the expansion, the aspects of yourself found by knowing others. Then, gradually, without haste, start to create a life that values what they aroused in you. Not a life focused on the loss, but on the aliveness they enabled you find. The real sorrow would not be losing them, but rather losing the person you are becoming because of them. You bring the love, the fire, and the lesson. They were a chapter, not the entire narrative. Sometimes, the most lovely chapters are those we can only recall with silent thankfulness. They're not revisitable. Thank you for being here, for choosing to travel through the unpleasant areas within yourself, for confronting questions with no simple solutions. You're not alone if this message spoke to you, if you've ever experienced the bittersweet burden of a relationship you couldn't keep. Your tale is welcome in the comments below. Sometimes, simply putting it into words can offer a sort of healing. Should you find value in this message, think about leaving a like to enable these messages to get to others possibly on their own invisible travels. Feel free to subscribe if you wish to keep investigating these deeper routes of development, change, and soul awakening. There are more stories to find, more truths to recall, and perhaps, just perhaps, more awakenings lying in locations we least anticipate.